Hey girl, what you gonna do tonight? I've got my mama's car keys and you've got a ticket to ride.
Hello, and welcome to Your Favorite Flick, a podcast where each episode we celebrate a movie that my guests love. We aren't here to be critics, we're here to be fans. Today, number one fan, Phil Murray, and I tell you about how long we've been dazed and confused. And we talk about the movie too. Phil and I watched this movie together innumerable times during our college days, and we break down what it is about this high school coming-of-age comedy that worked for us then and still works for us now. We've got a cast of relatable and memorable characters created by a lot of actors who we came to know through this movie. We talk about the evolution of the high school jock, the cliques, and the characters who often defy narrow categorization. I don't drink or smoke anymore, but I can't begrudge you popping one open or sparking one up during this one. Bill Murray, welcome to the show, or welcome back to the show. I'm not sure quite how to put that.
Yeah, Brett, thanks for having me again for the first time.
So, before we get into the movie on this one, and it is a great one, Dazed and Confused, I think we have a little podcast business we have to litigate here.
Yeah, I have some demands as a person who's been irreparably harmed by your lack of editorial knowledge and audio.
So,
So,
what happened is Phil broke the podcast last time, y'all. He claims it was me. I claim it was the recording software. I think we all know it was really Phil. And now he's coming back feeling empowered, like he's owed something. But we're going to hear him out here.
yes, so I have three demands. One, my episode needs to be longer than Jeff's episode. And that would have been for if it works the first time, Jeff cannot have longer episodes than me. And this is Jeff Elizardi, not your brother Jeff, who's dead to the pod. Number two,
Thank you for acknowledging that.
obviously it'd be longer than the dead person's. Number two is I want right of first refusal on future episodes.
How many movies do you feel like you're going to reserve for yourself if we give you that right of first refusal?
Probably all of them. Just
All
all
of them.
movies.
Okay.
How about any movie released on HBO between 1982 and 1988?
Great. So that's half the episodes we've recorded so far for sure. We'll have to
That's
take those off.
And then my last one, because we are covering Dazed and Confused, I would like our episode to open in with a Huns cover of Sweet Emotion, much like how the movie opens with Sweet Emotion from Aerosmith.
All right, let me respond to your three requests. I have a compromise on the first one. What if we just take Jeff's episode off the feed and therefore anything we put out is longer than Jeff's episode because Jeff no longer has an episode?
I mean, I think that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that works well. As to right of first refusal, I'm not going to grant you anything that came out on HBO during the 80s, but I will grant you anything that came out on Cinemax after dark throughout the 80s and early 90s.
I mean, Andrew Stevens released a lot of good movies, so that could work too. All right. That seems fair.
And we should tease right here that Phil and I will be doing an entire spin-off podcast on the Red Shoe Diaries, of course.
A lot of great actors got their start on Richard Diaries.
And then look, for the final one, I have to tell you, I am lucky that Richard lets me use his music at all. I can't possibly make any demands of him. His only demand is that if this podcast ever becomes a big success, that I shower him with gold. So I've got that to live up to already.
Okay. So seems like I've lost on all three of my requests.
I think we reached a healthy compromise. So,
Fair.
Phil, let me say officially, so excited to have you on the show. You are this podcast's number one fan, and that is an official title outside of these negotiations. And you are here to talk about a movie we both love. So, Dazed and Confused, a movie that it's fair to say we share some history on. Why don't you give the audience, if they haven't seen Dazed and Confused, just a little quick summary of what this one's about? Maybe as much setting as imbibe as plot, even.
It's kind of a high school teen coming of age / party movie set over the course of one day, which is the last day of school in 1976 in Texas. The opening scene, you're kind of panning over a high school parking lot. A guy's rolling in on an amazing muscle car. Aerosmith's Sweet Emotions playing. There's people in bell bottoms. There's clearly a stoner guy smoking, and you get right away you've been sent back to the 70s, and it's clear as day. This is the scene. You're out of high school. You're in the 70s. They do flash up the date. And it's like May 31st, 1977 or something. And it just kind of sets the tone right away. It's like last day of school. You meet a bunch of different characters right away. Star football players, girlfriends, stoner, a couple of nerds, and a couple football player teammates. And I think the writer, Richard Linklater, writer director, like just he's very good because he really uses the stereotypes of those kind of jock nerd, very well. So you know who that student is. They don't really have to focus a lot on character development. It's like you can get kind of right into the hijinks of the day, let's say.
And I would say one thing that's great about that is he draws those outlines of characters to then be able to subvert them around the edges. And because he doesn't need to spend a lot of time up front, he can then, as the movie goes, let us in on the fact that, like, oh, the star quarterback's maybe not quite what you're thinking of as a typical star quarterback.
Exactly. Like Randall Pink Floyd, a star quarterback. You kind of see him as he's walking. He has the blonde girlfriend. He's friendly with everyone. And as he's walking to his first class, it's a few nerds just in there talking about poker that night. And he's like, oh, I can't make it. I'm going to this party. And you're like, wait, he's the cool guy. Why is he hanging with them? But it just kind of shows you kind of like his everyman kind of personality that he has.
And there's a fluid social dynamic here. There are assholes and there are kids who fight, give hell to other kids, but there's also like a lot of unexpected friendships in here, like you're referencing with him and the nerds, and just unexpected dynamics.
You see how those groups kind of interact throughout the evening. Like high school cliques kind of interact and kind of run into each other. And you have guys who have kind of graduated, or a guy who was supposed to graduate and didn't graduate, who's still hanging around. And you have nerds, and then you have the eighth graders moving up who are now joining this world. It's also a very different time. The first day is all about hazing. So probably the movie won't get made today. Or if it did, it would have so many different disclaimers on the front of the screen. But a lot of the movie centers around the hazing of the eighth grade boys who are rising up into high school.
This, in a lot of literal ways, probably doesn't mirror our high school experience, but it feels to me like there's something that this movie emotionally gets right about high school that maybe is not so common among high school movies. What are some factors that go into that?
Huh. I think where it's different, I think a lot of the high school movies, the characters are like perfect. First of all, they're all 32 years old and fully grown and muscles and everything else. And Mitch Kramer, who's one of the stars of this movie, is like scrawny kid who has zero confidence. And he would be more kind of probably the nerd character in a lot of movies or in this scene. But you see as he kind of makes that jump into kind of the more popular kids.
Something you bring up there, and they take out a little more broadly when I think about part of what works about this movie is that often in high school movies, the writers, creators, directors feel the need to impose some sort of artificial stakes on the situation because it's got to be, it's a story, it's a movie, it has to have stakes. And of course, that's true to a degree. But this takes such a day in the life feel. Like the stakes that are at play feel like just what are the day-to-day stakes on a little bit of a special day, the end of school, and not going for, oh, so and so got their hands on a diary that they weren't supposed to have, and now we need to try to pull a heist to get that back. And I think there's something in that that feels a lot truer to me.
It's almost like Seinfeld's a TV show about nothing. This movie's just following kids around for the day. And Wooderson will tell you later, the number one goal of the summer is just to get Aerosmith tickets, right? That's the goal. The goal is, for the older kids, a big party at Prickford's house, and that gets canceled. They've kind of been thrown into a little bit of flux. And by the way, not a big deal because they don't care. They have backup plans, and they're at the pool hall and they're out in the fields and off having their party. So they're not really too bothered about it. But yeah, it's really just about last day of school. The conflict, if any, is really uh, kids trying to avoid being hazed. Mitch, being one of the younger kids, he gets caught pretty early on, right? He gets his paddle, he gets caught, and he sacrifices himself so his friends can get away. But at that point, he's accepted into the high schoolers, and his life takes a change, and he's now in. Meanwhile, his three friends are still scurrying around the rest of the time. And I think it just like to that, there's a corresponding eighth grade girl who we see as well, who goes through a little bit of hazing, but they both get into a similar situation where they're hazed and then they're asked, "Hey, do you want to hang out later?" And they've been trying to avoid these guys all day, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, that would be cool." And by taking a chance and being like, "Yeah, I want to hang out," they are accepted into this new world. Meanwhile, Mitch's friends, Carl, Hirschfelder, and the other guy, by avoiding the hazing, they're prolonging their acceptance into what they want to be. Carl's like, "Oh, next year in high school, we'll be getting all the girls or whatever." No, man, you're going to be running. So you won't just sit there and just got to take your punishment, right? By being open to kind of this potential, like Mitch got his ass beat. He's like almost in tears. Floyd's like, "Hey, sorry about that. Like, hey, why don't you grab some beers later? It'll be cool." And everyone will be like, "Okay, this guy's a cool guy."
So the way I'm reading what you're saying, and the pull quote I'm going to put on the description is Phil says that Mitch is Jesus Christ. That's how I'm reading that.
I mean, he has hair like Jesus Christ. I wouldn't say he is like Jesus Christ. He did martyr himself for the
Yeah.
others.
I'm obviously kidding. He's not really
Yeah.
a Christ figure in this movie, but
Nope.
I do like that you brought up. I don't know that I never thought about it this way. That like it is the self-sacrifice that actually gets him kind of ahead of the rest of the guys, and ultimately gets him a pretty cute sophomore girl as well.
Yeah, that's what he was doing it for.
So one memory I have of these days in college, and it may have been even in talking about this movie, but you were the person who taught me the difference between diegetic and non-diegetic sound. And
Yes.
this movie makes brilliant use of that. Can you fill the audience in on what that distinction is, and then maybe talk a little bit about how it functions here?
I learned about non-diegetic and diegetic sound in my film classes in college. By the way, I say that very pretentiously. I basically just watch movies. I wasn't like writing screenplays or going into really deep theory. I was just like watching Tombstone. It was great. But diegetic sound and non-diegetic sound. Diegetic sound is sound or music that the actors can hear in the scene. So it's part of their scene. Non-diegetic is music that they can't hear. Star Wars, the people are marching in, they don't hear the Emperor's theme, right? But diegetic, these guys will like drive around their cars, they're playing music, and you can hear the music that they're playing in their cars. And then they'll like pull in and they're kind of walk away, but you can still hear the music. So it switches between diegetic and non-diegetic across a couple of scenes. Being set in the 70s, they're all into rock and roll. We get so much great music throughout this. We get Alice Cooper, we get Aerosmith, we get so many great bands just
Well,
throughout.
we get one of the coolest uses of Bob Dylan ever, which I am a Bob Dylan nut. You don't always think of his music like introducing the cool slow walk scene, but
I
here
mean,
it does.
the cool slow walk scene through the pool hall to Hurricane. Now, if you want to talk Father, Son, Holy Ghost, those three guys walking through, if you want to, I don't know if we're going to get to the religious part of this movie. There was just throughout just so much like school's out for the summer when they're getting dismissed. They have free ride. It's just across the board. Like I think part of the hazing, I think they're playing like Love Hurts. I think maybe when Hirschfelder is maybe getting paddled. So it's like they just use it. They use it when they place, I think, some CZ Top when they're knocking over mailboxes and like running away from the guy with a gun. It's just great music throughout. There's probably like 25 great songs in this movie. I don't know how they had the budget.
Yeah, but apparently there was a lot of begging and borrowing that went into that. Here, Linkletter personally appealing to artists and management companies to get the rights to music. Great description of how it uses the diegetic and non-diegetic because it keeps things flowing in a way that doesn't necessarily happen if you make a hard choice between those two things. And then also, this music gives it such a specificity of time and place.
It's muscle cars, it's hard rock music. You have kids who are being a little bit rebellious. They got a little bit of long hair. Yes, some of them play football, but they also like to party, and you get the setting. So you can get yourself into this situation and kind of live, I won't say live vicariously, but you can feel the scenes happening because you can identify with the music, with the time. He uses the archetypes of the high school students very well. So he doesn't have to go into explaining who this person is. They kind of might get a throwaway line or a conversation. You're like, okay, that's the nerd. Oh, Darla, she's the mean girl, right? Darla, played by Parker Posey, who's in the movie very briefly, has like 3 amazing lines. She may have 7 lines in the whole thing, but it's like 3 amazing lines, and you're like, "Perfect." There's maybe 20 high schoolers that we could get introduced to, and all 20, you kind of know who they are just through the stereotype and just the interactions they have quickly throughout the movie. Pretty solid character development for a short movie that covers so many different kids.
And I'm glad you led us that way because I was thinking about the fact because we record it once on this, and due to my screw up, the audience doesn't get to hear that. But I wanted to see if we could maybe try something a little bit different for at least part of this episode. And when you mention the characters, I am sending you in the chat right now. I cut Mitch here and I cut Darla since I think we just talked about them a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought it might be fun if we do. We don't necessarily need to go through all these, but if we do a little bit of a character draft here,
Oh,
you
wow.
pick somebody that doesn't have to be a favorite character, just who you want to talk about. And we can kind of do a little bit of back and forth here, whether it's favorite scene with them, their character in general, how they interact with other particular characters. You tell me where you want to start from this list. Or if you
Okay.
have one that I forgot to include.
I am gonna start with Fred O'Banion, played by Ben Affleck. By the way, probably wouldn't go first in most drafts because he is playing a bit of a prick here, but he's the guy who,
No, no, you said this guy's name's Affleck. Is that right? I'm
yeah,
not
like
familiar.
the duck.
Okay, okay, good, good.
But he plays a person who is a senior coming back for a second senior year. And he's one who's most excited about paddling the kids. He's the most evil of all of them, the most sadistic, and he does get his comeuppance at some point. But first of all, seeing young Ben Affleck, amazing in this movie. If you go through the list of characters, like there's a lot of young stars that have yet to break out at the point of this movie. So seeing young Affleck, but my question is, why is Affleck back for a second year? He's apparently a very good player on the football team. He's like the best blocker for Randall Pink Floyd. So they obviously keep him eligible, at least during the football season. It is nice to see that they do get him in the end, although I think, well, Albania does storm off after Hirschfelder and his cohort dump paint on him. I think that's going to not end up too well for Hirschfelder and Carl and the gang later on day 2. Dazed and Confused day 2.
It probably gets ugly for them the rest of that summer. One thing that I'll throw in relation to his character that I think this movie does very well too is his arc actually ends pretty early. Like that scene that when he gets the paint dumped on him, I don't know exact runtime, but it's like halfway through the movie, essentially, somewhere in that range. And then we're done with him. And he's, pretty major plot point before that. I think it's another strength of this movie that Linklater doesn't try to set up 20 things and pay them all off in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He creates a flow, spaces along the way.
Who would you choose?
I'm going to go Mike Newhouse, as played by Adam Goldberg. Now, granted, I didn't know who he was yet, but I love that it is Adam Goldberg bringing Adam Goldberg energy to the part. Adam Goldberg, very proudly Jewish. And in some ways, I don't think he would have a problem with me saying this. In some ways, stereotypically Jewish in affect. And he brings the anxiety. He brings the energy. He also brings the dreaming. I just want to dance. It's
Yeah.
sort of the
And he's like the bad drunk. He's like an angry drunk. So he's obviously working through some things.
angry and ineffectual, which is a pretty dangerous combination, especially when you come up against Nicky Cat.
Yeah, he got the first punch in, but yeah, I mean, Nicky Cat, I mean, just beats him as Clint. And I know we had talked about this before, but rest in peace, Nicky Cat. I was sad to see that he had passed recently. By the way, I'm just looking at this list that you have. So you have Jason London, Matthew McConaughey, Ben Affleck, Sasha Jensen, Rory Cochrane, Cole Hauser, Mila Jovovich, Mercer Ribisi, Adam Goldberg, and Anthony Rapp as our choices for this draft. all those people went on to do like amazing things. I don't, maybe not so much Sasha Jensen, but this is like all stars that were all in the same movie together.
And nobody had any profile before this.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those movies where we have this one star even and we're
Yeah.
building around it. This was a cast of nobodies.
Renee Zellweger, Joy Lauren Adams aren't listed here. They obviously did good things well. Great job by this casting director. A plus. A plus.
Absolutely. Where are you going next?
I kind of want to stay away from Wooderson. I'll be honest. I think he'd be too easy to do. Like,
Again, it's not a preference order.
yeah,
It's just a who
yeah. I
strikes
mean,
you as you want to talk
I, I
about.
mean, I, I think Benny O'Donnell. I think just great friend of Pink's. He's one who's going to enjoy the paddling. You see him in woodshop. He's like making his paddle. He's making sure it's perfect.
Drills holes in his paddle because he understands, unlike the rest of the guys, he understands that if he breaks the wind resistance, he's going to get that much better a hit.
He wants a quick bat, right? Acceleration. He's also the one who talks to Pink like, hey, Pink's conflict is, does he sign the document that says he won't drink or do drugs during the football season or something? And they're making all the players sign. A lot of the players are just signing and saying whatever. But Pink's like, I'm not going to sign it. And if he doesn't sign it, he won't be able to play. Benny's kind of like, hey, man, this is going to be our senior year. You have to be with us, right? And so he's like kind of the good friend. He has that scene where he also tries to stand up in the bed of the truck, but he's been sitting and drinking too long and he can't get up. He's just always a good friend. He brings the same kind of friendship energy to Goodwill Hunting. He's kind of the strong, silent, good friend there. And then obviously now he's like amazing actor. So I think I'll go with Benny.
He's that bulldog loyal friend he's not a bully, but he's maybe kind of itching for a fight. He would like there to be a good reason for the fight, though. He's definitely the guy who's going to have your back if somebody stomps on your toe accidentally.
I think he's even in when the actual fight. I think he's like kind of holding people back to keep the fight going.
Yes.
Where Melvin jumps in to help break it up with Pink, right? But Betty's like, let's go. So
I'm going to go over to probably Pink's other best friend, Don Dawson, played by Sasha Jensen in this. You mentioned of the major, performances in this, he went on to the least, which I think is really a shame because I find him hilarious in this movie. And he just has this great hypersexual, flirty clown without being ridiculous. Another friend that is obviously extremely loyal to Pink, but comes at it. It's not like he and Benny are opposites, but they kind of come at it from different angles. It's a little more like, oh, I'm with you about this being bullshit, but why bother making a thing of it? I just really enjoy what he brings to this movie comedically and energy wise.
great character. Him and Siobhan, who's his like girlfriend or girl of the evening, have great rapport throughout. He also has that great scene where they pretend to rob the liquor store and the old man whose mailbox at comes into the car with a gun and they're like, Johnny, give the beer back, man. He's like, I paid for the beer. No one was supposed to know he paid for the beer. He's just pretending. He has that kind of like frenetic energy and just fun. He was bringing kind of that fun and the comedy to it. I know we classified it at the beginning as like high school, kind of coming of age, day in the life. But is it a comedy? It's not funny, but some funny things happen. It's not really dramatic. One of those weird in between movies. So I guess it
Yeah,
falls under coming of age.
I think of it as a comedy, but more of a slice of life comedy. Like it's not doing bits. The stuff that's funny is funny because the characters are funny and they work. And so it's either the characters having lines that are funny, but they feel realistic to the situation, or it's us just kind of laughing out of recognition of what that character's all about. To stay on Don for another minute, the scene very early on where he goes in and hits on the teacher, I think just shows this is some of the anarchic spirit at play here. And he knows it's ridiculous, and she does too, but she kind of plays along because he's got that kind of charisma and appeal.
And it's the last day of school, so anything goes. And I think that goes back to the earlier point too. That was 30-second scene at the beginning of the movie, and you're like, I know Donnie's energy the rest of the movie. I know that guy, right? Okay. I know you're trying to figure out all these 20 kids. Okay, Donnie, over sexualized, guy who thinks he has a chance with a teacher. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
But he is the backup of one of the best looking girls in a very good looking, school of girls. So good for him. Where do you want to go next?
Man, I think we gotta go with Rory Cochrane as Slater. He just embodied that part really well, just hit it out of the park. Like, obviously, he has long hair, he's got the hat, his eyes are maybe at 5% opening the entire movie. Uh, He's like frail looking almost. He's so skinny. Oh, he's not a football player, right? He's just happy to be there and living life. Like, nailed the stoner part so well.
I think he is the embodiment of the stoner for our generation. I think for so many people in our age group that if you ask them just to mentally conjure what does a stereotypical stoner look like, he's kind of it. Like to the
Yeah.
point that I think people in the 90s aped his style, even though it
Oh, yeah,
was,
like, because he
20
had, like, the
years after the
marijuana
fact.
leaf shirt, "Check your leader, check your leader." Don't do check your leader. Wooderson and Slater wouldn't necessarily get on without Pink. Like, Mitch has been paddled. Pink's like, "Hey, I'll come pick you up, we're gonna go to this party." And when Mitch is picked up for the party by Pink, Wooderson's driving, and Wooderson kind of gives him the test, "Hey, man, do you have any, like, do you smoke?" And he's like, not really. Do you got any pot?" Like, "Not really." He's like, "It'd be a lot cooler if you did." But because Pink says he's cool, even though he's kind of like the narky little kid right now who doesn't smoke or whatever, he's accepted, right? And it's like, if Pink accepts you, you're accepted. Wooderson, we don't know how old he is. We know he's not O'Banion's age because they didn't make a joke about Wooderson coming back, but he's 20-ish, maybe 21.
Whether it's an exact year match, I think he was essentially Pink to Pink's Mitch. I think he's somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 years older than the rising seniors.
So
Maybe about
21,
what you're saying.
22. And I
Yeah.
know we get a little bit of insight in that Wooderson has a scene later on when they're caught by the cops drinking on the football field, where the cop was a contemporary of him because Wooderson beat him for like all state or whatever for football. Wooderson, despite being a total drunk out, druggy degenerate, was amazing at football, despite everything that has happened in this movie. But yeah, so
I think it's only all district actually, but all district in Texas is like all state anywhere
I
else.
mean,
If
it
you
would definitely, he'd definitely like rule New England in football.
the other thing with this performance, talk about an actor just coming into the world and announcing himself with Matthew McConaughey here. Still, the linchpin of any Matthew McConaughey imitation is all right, all right, all right. But it's
Yeah.
right here, right from the start. He knows who he is on screen so early.
It's like his biographical movie almost, it seems like he is the part. Wooderson is McConaughey, McConaughey is Wooderson. Oh, I like high school girls because I get older, they stay the same age, which, by the way, would totally be grooming in this day and age, that he'd be
Yeah,
canceled
yeah.
and, everything. I don't think we would see that so much today. He's just perfect for that part. He just hits it right out of the park. Even like doing the whole Melba Toast monologue where he talks about the engine of his car for like 20 seconds, and I cannot repeat it because could not memorize about whatever was in the car engine. I'd be like, oh, 8 liter maybe. So
Is that a thing? Huh? Huh?
yeah, I mean, the manifold. Um, so, but like, he just kind of nails it. He kind of accepts Mitch right away. He's one of the guys who gives Mitch a little bit of advice. Mitch gets advice throughout the movie from different people, and that's just kind of how he kind of learns how to navigate throughout. But Wooderson was just perfect. He's one of the three main stars because he's in the slow walking scene at the pool hall to Hurricane, right? So
Yep.
him, Mitch, and Pink, clearly the three stars of the movie.
Well, and I think I have no way to know this, but I'd be interested to know, did that character become more significant because of the performance that McConaughey was given? It feels like the kind of thing that it may have been, whether on set or in the edit, they're like, "Oh god, this guy's really bringing something. We have to make sure he's got, the screen time that this deserves."
And is it kind of like, is this the progression? Do you go from Mitch to Pink to Wooderson, right? Is that how you're going to kind of navigate? They're obviously at different stages. And I think that's part of the struggle too, is that Wooderson's like, "Oh, don't be a rule follower. Like, I would never sign that thing." He hates the cop. And it's like, do you take the Wooderson path or is there a different path for you where you sign the document or something? He nails his scenes with Mercer Ribisi.
All right, where do you want to go next?
We've talked about so many of these guys. Anthony Rapp, I think, is just a great actor in general. I like that he's kind of introduced at the beginning. He's kind of nerdy. He's with Adam Goldberg and Marissa Ribisi's characters, and they're like, "Can we go to a party?" I don't know. He and Adam Goldberg are kind of like the Statler and Waldorf at some scenes where they're like kind of doing the commentary of the hazing, and they're like,
Yes.
"This is terrible," and it's kind of fun to kind of see their growth as they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we should go to a party."
I love Anthony Rapp as an actor in general. He seems like a very cool guy. He actually came out on Broadway at a time that even on Broadway it was not very cool to do that, which I think is a remarkable thing for a very young actor at the time. But I'm going to bridge this into the next one I want to talk about too. His relationship with the rising freshman girl is just so sweet. They meet at the hazing. It's clear he's a little nervous around girls, not as experienced, but he's not just nervous with her, he's genuinely kind to her. And it feels like, all right, if she's going to, oh, you don't know what happens with her, but if she's going to go out with a high school boy, like, good for her. This is the kind of guy you'd want her with.
So we have Anthony Rapp and the freshman girl. We have Marissa Ribisi with Wooderson, right? Mitch,
That's where we're going next. That might be
Mitch,
my favorite.
Mitch will get with the sophomore girl, and Hirschfelder gets with the girl at the eighth grade dance. These are the four dorkiest characters in the entire movie, and they're the ones who get the girl. The only person else who gets a girl here is Randall Pink Floyd because he's Randall Pink Floyd, and he kisses two girls, and one's his girlfriend, and one's a girl who wants to be his girlfriend.
Slash seems to be one of genuinely his best friends too, so it seems like a
Yeah,
complicated dynamic there.
that's the summer. What happens? But it is kind of interesting to kind of see like the little guy is kind of the winner in that department because maybe it's because they are genuine people.
Maybe it's because filmmakers relate a lot more to those kind of characters than they
Yeah.
do the jocks. So Marissa Ribisi was where I was going to go next. I think she has such a great combination here. She is part of this nerdy crew, but she also has a confidence in herself that you maybe don't see from like the quote unquote hot girls in the movie as much. She seems to know who she is, and so when Wooderson does hit on her, she's gleeful about it. I mean, it's really funny how gleeful she is, but their interaction is very sweet and kind of chaste. He doesn't try to take her home. Hey, don't forget Aerosmith in 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah. I'm just like seeing her fix her hair in the car after she's been asked to meet up or whatever with Wooderson. And they're like, isn't he like 30 years old or whatever? Like, and she's like, what? I thought he was nice. And it is an interesting dynamic. And her hair is like amazing in this movie. Redheads, right? Or Wooderson's into the redheads.
One thing I think great that does, it cuts into Wooderson's creepy vibe. That was a real risk with the high school girls line when we first meet him. Like, oh, is this guy just going to be unlikable, or like, are we going to laugh at him but not laugh with him? But then when his attention turns to this kind of offbeat girl, it's like, oh, okay, he's
Yeah.
not, he's not
It's not
just a
the eighth
creep.
grader, right? It could have been
Yeah,
the eighth
yeah.
grader, right? It could have been one of the eighth graders.
And it's also not like the stereotypical blonde. Oh, it's a girl,
Yeah.
very, very attractive woman, no knock at all, but an offbeat look, especially with that hair.
Wooderson just knows what he wants. Redheads who are in high school.
It's still a little problematic.
Yeah, it's pretty problematic. I mean, I
Can we
mean,
get some points for less problematic than it seems,
yeah,
in the first moment? That's all
yeah. I
I'm asking.
mean, I don't know. It's now making me feel worse. Let's move on.
All right, we have two left on the list.
I'm gonna choose Mila Jovovich because she's in the movie for like 30 seconds. She sings an amazing song about aliens. She just looks kind of longingly at Pickford for most of her scenes. She hides a bong, I think, at one point.
So she's not a major character. So first of all, I do love she's kind of a little bit of a female Slater. Like it's different because it's more of a spacey, like hippie chick
Yeah.
kind of vibe. But I
She
like that even though she's not in it much, she brings a 60s vibe into the 70s there.
yeah, she's, like, checked out. She's almost, like, 2 joints ahead of Slater. She's in,
Yes.
like, the, "I am just gonna space out here," and Slater's still in, like, energy mode.
Right, right. She may have some hallucinogens in the mix. She may have a mellower strain than he does,
Yeah.
but whatever it is. Now, the other reason I wanted to bring her up is the amazing song you talked about that she sings. Mila Jovovich actually wrote that and apparently also worked on the Kiss figures that
Oh,
her
the
character
painting.
makes in the
Oh, nice.
so she was apparently her own little creative force in this movie, even
Sh
though she was not in very much of it.
she was just wandering around the set just doing things, and they left her in the movie, maybe? No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Adds to the vibe. So I'll leave you
All right.
with Pink.
We did a little pink talk at the beginning, but he weaves so much through this movie. But there's a scene, and I'm going to be honest. I think you brought this up last time we talked, so I'm stealing from you a little bit here. But sort of the quintessential pink scene for me is when they're at the junior high baseball game and the old guy kind of grabs him and like, heck of a team we have coming back next year, 17 starters, 26 lettermen. And Pink knows the guy and is so nice to him about the whole thing. He's trying to rush off because they've got things going, they've got Wiley Wiggins coming,
Yeah.
but he just is this kid that besides like getting along with all the kids in the school, he's not too cool to stop and talk to this old man for a minute. And I dearly love that.
It gives you a small town vibe to all of this, like, the fact that the cops later on don't arrest these kids, they turn them into the football coach, right? That's the real law in town. That guy probably also fought in, like, World War One, right? And he's probably been
Yeah.
in the town forever. He's probably been a football booster for years. One of the things he does say is like, is this arm ready to throw, like, 2,000 yards or something next year?" And we're like, "Is that a lot?" 10 games, 200 yards. Maybe back then it was more, maybe they were on a wishbone. I don't know. It's clearly not like the 4 wide receiver air raid office offense.
With you mentioning the ending, one thing I really love in this movie, and this sounds small, but after all of this stuff and the Aerosmith tickets being a theme, but it not being the only thing going on, is that they do actually go to get the Aerosmith tickets at the end of all this. It's not overplayed, but after they've been caught on the football field, had a difficult conversation with the coach, he throws the slip he's supposed to sign back at the coach. But after all that, they're getting in the car and they're going to Houston to get those tickets.
And I think that's where it could have been a little bit different, right? Because I think when you think about movies that have come after, but like when you think about like Super Bad or like Adventures of Babysitting, that's the movie. It's like the adventure of like going to get the magazine or going to get the beer, and that's the adventure throughout the night as you try to solve that problem. There's no, oh yeah, we're gonna go solve the problem tomorrow. We're like, that's not what the movie is, right? It's more about enjoying the party.
And that may be why I like it so much because it is kind of underplayed. It's just there throughout. And then it's like, oh, cool, they're doing it. The movie doesn't hinge on it. It could end with them not going to get the Aerosmith tickets, and it's not like, oh, well, that's just a bummer. It just is a nice little grace note.
It's like almost like the callback at the end because they're like in the car and they're like gonna drive and it's like 5, 6 in the morning, right? And then they're like, "Oh yeah, off to the Aerosmith tickets." You're like, "Oh yeah, they did talk about that earlier." Like, way to go, guys. Way to stay with it.
You did fall into my trap here, and you failed in the character draft because I very intentionally left the single most important character in this movie off the list.
Ooh.
Who is that, Phil?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I really like the middle school teacher who laughs when they try to get out of getting paddled. They're like, "Can we get out of school earlier so that we don't get paddled?" And they like shuffle up to the teacher, and the teacher's been a nom or something. And he just has this bright smile on his face, and he knows what's gonna happen. He's like, "This is great. You guys have been jerks to me all year. You're gonna get it." So
I do love him. I love that he's on screen for maybe 20 seconds, and we find out that he's a Vietnam vet in that
yeah,
time. That, like,
I mean, we have some great Small character.
But I'm going to spoil it because it's my favorite. It's the character we assigned you when watching it in
I
college. But
know.
the beer delivery guy
Ben, I
is
knew it
the
was
man.
Ben. Ben's the one who ruins most of the movie. If he didn't deliver the kegs early because he wanted to meet his girlfriend, we'd have had a Can't Hardly Wait in the 70s. That's what it would have been. Just a big party at the house. But
Yeah, it's a worse movie. He makes this movie without the moon tower. It's not bad, but it's not nearly as fun.
there's just so many just great characters all around. And Dollar, as I said, Dollar gets like 5 lines. 3 of them are just like, wipe that face off your head, you bitches. Like, lick me, all of you. What's up, freshman bitches? Like, she comes on with a presence and then she disappears, but you're like, perfect.
Well, Phil, you know this better than anybody as the number one fan, but we love to leave people with movies that they should check out if they like this movie. What do you have on your docket?
So I think John Hughes movies, thinking of his coming of age, high school based movies like Say Anything or Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, all those different kind of groups of kids interacting. We don't get the uber kind of villain like that we may have gotten in some of those movies, but just kind of day in the life, like Breakfast Club, perfect. I think, and that's like 80s version, like in 90s versions, I think I mentioned like Can't Hardly Wait, where the whole thing is the party and when they have some of the tropes, but they're kind of more poking fun at it. Going back to the 70s, like, I like Almost Famous, but, like, coming of age for, obviously, Cameron Crowe's character. Obviously, if you're thinking about, like, going back into that time, the music and everything else. And then probably one that I would throw on here would be, like, Stand By Me. Like, a little bit darker, but, like, you get, like, that kind of that 50s tone, a 50s version of coming of age.
So I have a couple that I intentionally went a little bit elliptical here, just with things that reminded me of what I like about this movie. The first one I thought about was Boogie Nights. Obviously, very different setting in the porn world as opposed to high school.
I mean, they're pretty
But
much one and the same. They're interchangeable.
well, I mean, if you're studs like us, yes. But
Yeah,
for
I
most
mean,
people,
Roller
Phil,
Girl, same thing, same thing. He was a nice girl.
but just the way that movie expertly manages this big cast and has the same kind of hangout vibe, but done with precision. In Boogie Nights, like in this, there are a dozen different great characters that we feel like we get to know over the course of that movie. Obviously, it's darker, its tone is very different. Similarly, Boogie Nights is funny. Its humor is, for the most part, very character based humor like this. Like, it's not bits, it's things that spring from the characters in the world. All right. Well, anything else you feel like we need to leave the audience with, Phil?
No, I mean, I think this is just an amazing movie. If you like 70s rock music, you like seeing the cars, great, great screenplay. I don't think there was too hard of a directing ask here, but I think you want to see some of these guys when they're younger and, great movie.
I would say maybe not a big directing ask in terms of like shot making, but certainly
Yeah.
in directing a young cast like this. I think you see Linklater's comfort with working with actors shining through in this. That is something he shows throughout his career.
It's like, this is the reason I picked the movie. Just love the movie. One of the movies you could pick up in any spot and you'll just sit and watch it and, see
And
something
if
new.
anybody, I would say for anybody who hasn't watched this too, one of the great things about this movie, and what really makes it a flick, true to the title of our show here, is that you can flip it on just to kind of hang out, half pay attention to it, and that's fine. Or you can really zone in and watch it and enjoy the hell out of it in either context. And that's a feat to achieve.
And when you watch it, always keep an eye out for Melvin passing out in the truck. His eyes go really big and it's amazing. Yeah, something with a very little scene. It's a great scene.
There you go. Well, Phil, thank you so much for re-recording this, and we will get working on your now 3,000 reserved Cinemax movies
Yeah.
very soon.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Your Favorite Flick, a podcast where each episode we celebrate a movie that my guest loves. We aren't here to be critics, we're here to be fans. Today, number one fan, Phil Murray, and I tell you about how long we've been dazed and confused. And we talk about the movie too. Phil and I watched this movie together innumerable times during our college days, and we break down what it is about this high school coming of age comedy that worked for us then and still works for us now. We've got a cast of relatable and memorable characters created by a lot of actors who we came to know through this movie. We talk about the evolution of the high school jock, the cliques, and the characters who often defy narrow categorization. I don't drink or smoke anymore, but I can't begrudge you popping one open or sparking one up during this one. That's it for this one, folks. I'm Brad Glazer. I host, produce, and edit the show. Along with the Brain Trust, thanks go out to Phil Murray for his patience, Jeff Alizardi for his help, I guess we'll call it help, on this one, and Julia Mai. I Wanted a Woman, Never Bargained for You. The music you hear at the beginning of the show and now is by my friend Richard Bates and his band, The Huns. That's H-O-N-S. You can find The Huns music on Bandcamp. This coming Wednesday, we're taking an odd detour to the LA of the Big Lebowski via the Land of Oz with Jacob Eben. You'll have to listen to figure out what the heck I'm talking about. Hell, I'll have to listen to figure out what the heck I'm talking about, and I was there. Please follow, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, all the things. Those reviews in particular, no matter how long or short, really help us reach more people. You can follow us on Instagram at Your Favorite Flick, on Letterboxd at Favorite Flick. I really need to update the Letterboxd. Or shoot us an email at yourfavoriteflick@gmail.com. Huns, take us out.
Made crazy, stupid money for crazy, stupid things. Is that any part of keeping your heart? If I spent those same days brushing up on poetics, that's 14 times 365 inflection.